Welcome back to Instant Learning. It's me, Banasar Khalid. So in the last class, we were discussing about the preamble of Indian Constitution. Are you clear with that topic? So let's move to the next one. So as you all know, the Constitution of India is the lengthiest written constitution in the world. And we have studied that drafting committee made a major role for framing of the Constitution of India. You also know that drafting committee's chairman was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is known as the father of Indian Constitution. He was also the first Union Law Minister. As per the drafting committee, this drafting, when you recollect those points related to drafting committee, you have to note these points also. Drafting committee was set up on August 29, 1947. Drafting committee was set up on August 29, 1947. And a draft of the constitution was submitted to the Constituent Assembly on November 4, 1947. Drafting committee was set up on August 29, 1947. And a draft of the constitution was submitted to the Constituent Assembly on November 4, 1947. And this Constituent Assembly adopted the Constitution on November 26, 1949. So a drafting committee was set up on August 29, 1947, and the draft of the Constitution was submitted to the Constituent Assembly on November 4, 1947, and the Constituent Assembly adopted this Constitution on November 26, 1949. So the only date marked on the preamble of Indian Constitution is November 26, and it is known as the Law Day. And this Constitution came into being on January 26, 1950. So that's all about drafting committee and those aspects related to Constitution. So the next topic is fundamental rights. So the next topic we have to study here is fundamental rights. So fundamental rights belongs to the part 3 of Indian Constitution. The fundamental rights belongs to part 3 of Indian Constitution, and it refers from Article 12 to Article 35. So fundamental rights belongs to part 3 of Indian Constitution, and that's from Article 12 to Article 35. The concept or this idea of fundamental rights was adopted from the Bill of Rights of USA. The concept of fundamental rights was adopted from USA. Then the idea of fundamental rights was adopted by the INC's Karachi session of 1931 by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Fundamental rights idea was put forward by the INC's Karachi session, which was conducted on 1931, and this session was headed by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. So he is known as the father of fundamental rights. So INC's Karachi session, which of 1931, put forward the concept of fundamental rights, and that session was headed by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. So he was considered as the father of fundamental rights. Then fundamental rights is considered as the Magna Carta of India and also known as the keystone of Indian Constitution. Fundamental rights is considered as the Magna Carta of India as well as the keystone of Indian Constitution. So the guardian of fundamental rights is Supreme Court of India. Guardian of fundamental rights is Supreme Court of India. As we mentioned, that fundamental rights belongs to part 3 of Indian Constitution, and it refers from Article 12 to Article 35. Originally, the Constitution provided, or the Constitution had 7 fundamental rights. But at present, only 6 fundamental rights are there in our Constitution. Originally the Constitution has 7 fundamental rights, and those fundamental rights were: first one, right to equality; then second one, right to freedom; third one, right against exploitation; and fourth one, right to freedom of religion; fifth one, cultural and education rights; and sixth one, a right to property; and seventh one, a right to constitutional remedies. So here, when the constitution was framed, seven fundamental rights were there. Later, the right to property, the fundamental right to property was removed from this list of fundamental rights as per section 4, as per the Amendment Act 44 of 1978, 44th Amendment Act of 1978. Right to property, the fundamental right to property was removed from the list, from this list of fundamental rights, and that was placed in Part 12 of Indian Constitution, 300A of Part 12 of Indian Constitution. So fundamental right to property was a fundamental right in the beginning, and that fundamental right was removed from the list as per the 44th Amendment Act of 1978, and that was placed in Part 12 of 300A. So right to property was removed from this list of fundamental rights and placed in Part 12 of Indian Constitution, 300A of Part 12 of Indian Constitution. It was earlier it was placed in Article 31 of the Fundamental Rights list. Later it was removed as per the 44th Amendment of Act of 1978. 44th Amendment Act of 1978. And the Prime Minister during that period was Morarji Desai, and the President during that period was Neelam Sanjeev Reddy. So Prime Minister was Morarji Desai and the President was Neelam Sanjeev Reddy. We have already studied that preamble was amended once, and that was by means of 42nd Amendment Act of 1976. At that time the Prime Minister was Indira Gandhi and the President was Fakhruddin Ali Ahmad. And in this case, right to property was removed from the list of fundamental rights as per 44th Amendment Act of 1978, and it was placed. It is placed in the Part 12, 300A of Indian Constitution. While considering the list of fundamental rights in Indian Constitution, there are only 6 fundamental rights. They are: first one, right to equality, that starts from Article 14 to Article 18. First of all, you have to understand that fundamental rights deals from Article 12 to Article 35. And the major fundamental rights are of 6. They are right to equality, that's from Article 14 to Article 18. Second one, right to freedom, that's from Article 19 to Article 22. Then right against exploitation, that is from Article 23 to 24. And right to freedom of religion, that is Article 25 to 28. Then cultural and educational rights, that is from Article 29 to 30. And right to constitutional remedies, that is Article 32. Here, right to property was placed as Article 31 in the beginning. Now it's removed from the list of fundamental rights. So now we can study each and every point of these fundamental rights. So fundamental rights, first one, Article 12. Article 12 deals with the definition of states. Definition of state. Then Article 13 deals with judicial review. Judicial review, that means no law should be enacted to insult or oppose fundamental rights. No law shall be enacted to oppose or insult fundamental rights. Then from Article 14, that is right to equality, from 14 to 18 deals with right to equality. And Article 14 says equality before law, that is all are equal before law. That's what it's described in Article 14. Article 15. Article 15 deals with prohibition of discrimination on grounds of race, religion, caste, sex or place of birth. So Article 15 deals with the prohibition of discrimination. No one should be discriminated. So prohibition of discrimination on the basis of what? Race, religion, sex or place of birth should not be done. That is what described in Article 50. Then Article 16 deals with equal opportunity. That means men and women all are given equal opportunity in case of public employment. So equal opportunity, that is dealing with Article 17 deals with untouchability, that is abolition of untouchability. Article 17 is a very important article among the fundamental rights or among Indian Constitution, that is the abolition of untouchability. That article was passed by raising the slogan Mahatma Gandhi ki Jai. So Article 17, abolition of untouchability, and Article 18 deals with abolition of titles. So titles should be abolished except military and academic titles are allowed. All other titles should be abolished. That is according to Article 18. So that's all about article, that is right to equality. Right to equality deals from Article 14 to Article 18, and first one, Article 14 says all equal before law, equality before law. And Article 15 says, it implies that there should be no discrimination on the basis of race, religion, caste, sex, or place of birth. While considering Article 16, that is equal opportunity given for both men and women in public employment. For public employment, both men and women should be considered or should be given equal opportunity. In Article 17 deals with abolition of untouchability, and Article 18 deals with abolition of titles except military and academic. So that's all about Article 14 to 18, means right to equality. Now, Article 19 to 22, that's article provides right to freedom. Right to freedom. A right to freedom is from Article 19 to Article 22. And here, the protection of 6 rights regarding freedom. It can be written in a code, that is SAM-RP. That is right to freedom to speech and expression. Right to freedom for speech and expression. Then a right to assemble. Right to assemble. And a right to associate. And next one, right to movement. And next one, residence, and next profession. So these are the 6 rights regarding freedom of speech and expression, freedom to assemble anywhere in the country, freedom to associate. Associate means freedom to form associations or unions anywhere in the country, and the freedom of movement. A person can move anywhere within the territory of the country. And the freedom of residence, that is a citizen can reside anywhere within the country. And the freedom of profession, that is they have the freedom to choose their profession. These are the major freedoms. That is a protection of 6 rights regarding freedom are freedom of speech and expression, freedom of assembly, freedom of association, freedom of movement, freedom of residence, and freedom of profession. It can be written as a code SAM-RP, where S relates to speech and expression, A relates to assemble, in A association, M movement, R residence, and P for profession. That reads from, and this right to freedom, that is from Article 19 to 22, where the Article 19 it describes the protection of 6 rights regarding the freedom of speech and expression, freedom of assembly, freedom of association, freedom of movement, freedom of residence, as well as freedom of profession. So here, Article 20 and Article 21. These 2 articles cannot be suspended during national emergency. So fundamental rights can be suspended during national emergency, but Article 20 and 21 cannot be suspended. And we can study Article 20 and other articles on the next class. Today we were discussing about fundamental rights. It's not finished. We'll be continuing in the next class. Hope you have understood. If it's helpful for you, please subscribe my channel. Keep watching. We shall meet in the next class. Till then, it's bye from me. Thank you.